Welcome back. You're still tuned in to News and Views with myself, Salailo Makwidire. We're going to be having a hashtag Heard on Air feature. We'll be reflecting on a conversation from last night's show, Wednesday Nights with Inaid Wadi. And he had representatives from around 5 organizations, and there's around 60 organizations, or they make part of around 60 organizations who are going to be having a nationwide protest, marches all across some of the biggest cities in South Africa, and it's all against xenophobia. So there's like a counteract to some of the actions that we've been seeing the last couple of months from March and March, Operation Dudula, and many other similar kind of organizations that are anti-illegal migration. So they're saying, let's talk Ubuntu. Africa is for all Africans. And there was a really insightful conversation to see and hear from the other side, if I can put it that way. So if you missed that conversation, here we go. Take a listen.
I want us to probably look at how did we get here. And it is important that we begin to understand how we got to a situation where there's quite a big number of migrants in South Africa. And why now this kind of xenophobic attitudes that have suddenly sprung up everywhere. It's not only in KZN. So in fact, I think it's worse in Gauteng than in KZN when I look at what is happening. People need to understand, from the organization I come from, I think we need to look at it from a historical point of view, where South Africa was constructed by migrant labor. If you talk about the Indians that came to do the sugarcane fields, and then the Southern Africans that used to work in the mines, in Gauteng mostly. And the way this economy was engineered, it was engineered in such a way that it sort of I wouldn't say de-industrialized, but I would say it ensured that the rest of Southern Africa could not develop. The rest of Southern Africa was sort of maybe headhunted into ensuring that South Africa is constructed. And this happened even before 1910, when South Africa was created, in the gold rush, where you had people from all over the world. So by and large, South Africa is a migrant economy, and that is the reason why you find so many people gravitating towards South Africa, because it's both historical, and South Africa is the most developed economy in this part of Africa. And I think what has happened is that there was a failure to either manage immigration and to ensure that history is taught in schools, because I think if people without a history who only look at history from a perspective that looks at their ethnic group and not necessarily the rest of the country and the rest of the continent, are problematic when it comes to ensuring that there is Ubuntu, there is integration in this country. Then I would. It is my need to ensure that even the media itself, the media is so ignorant. You know, a News 24 journalist asked someone from Lepelale, Etonga, that do you have a passport? So when you have journalists asking such questions, these are the kind of people that are actually peddling misinformation. And I don't know why media houses have sort of maybe been geared towards promoting xenophobia, because it is the media that has propagated all these lies about migrants and the xenophobic attitude. So I think if we are going to change the attitude, we need to take the media houses to task for the kind of journalism that they've displayed in the past 2 years, where you only get that when you hear that there are 15 million migrants in this country, when the last census did not say that. And people think that when the census only counts South Africans, people need to understand that when the census says there are 60 million in this country, it's 60 million for everyone, whether they're documented or not. And as well, if there are going to be 15 million migrants in this country, I don't think it would be able to support that kind of huge influx of people without disrupting the country's social life at, at all. So I think what we need to do as activists and everyone else is to ensure that the information that is put out there is accurate, because the information is available. When you look at the issues of unemployment, only 5% of migrants are employed in formal employment, and the rest that come in here create their own employment. And I remember when I came in 2005, the Durban Harbour did not work 24 hours. But because of migrants that began to come in 2005 and thereabouts, the Durban Harbour started working 24 hours. And as well, the issue of trucks, these people that are employing migrants, because when they started their businesses, they had very old trucks want to drive. So that's how they ended up with the majority of migrant as drivers. Thank you. I'll stop there.
Yes, thank you, Percy. Let's just bring Chief Duarte into the discussion because Chief Duarte, obviously it's a very interesting angle that I'd like to actually take with you regarding, what we are talking about because, representing the Khoi and the San people. Now, we know that historically there have been many, many challenges that have been faced, whether we're talking about ancestral land dispossession, we're talking about legal, we talk about cultural recognition as well, exclusion at times from mainstream socio-political structures. These have been major, major talking points. Now, if there's anyone that needs to have or that has a problem or that has a gripe in South Africa and how the system is working has been the Khoi and the San people. And yet we see on the African continent in terms of while we are calling at an event like this for Africa or on August the 8th for Africa to unite, again, we see it within our own country where, the indigenous people of this land are being treated in this manner as well. And particularly coming from a rich historical background like yours.
I just to the viewers out there, and thank you for this opportunity for us to articulate ourselves. So you are absolutely correct, sir. With regards to the marginalization of the indigenous people, I want to take us back. Let me take you right back to the propaganda history that were taught to us in school. The propaganda history that were taught to us in school, we will learn that Jan van Riebeeck discovered Cape Town in the year 1652, which is a lie, propaganda. We as the indigenous people, the Khoi and San, our ancestors, has fought with Almeida, with Portuguese, and other colonialists before that time. For example, we had a victory in the year 1510 when Almeida came to our shores, and they came with their cannons and they came with their guns, and our indigenous people, the Khoi and San, defeated them. They defeated Almeida and the colonialists in the Black River, the same Black River currently that the city of Cape Town wants to turn into a housing project. So yes, propaganda history, but most importantly for us to note is the fact that our indigenous people, my ancestors, were very hospitable. We were very hospitable. We allowed the Jan van Riebeecks, we allowed the Cecil John Rhodes, we allowed the colonialists and imperialists into our country, yet to find out at the end of the day that we are sitting now without any land, without any minerals, and we are being deprived of this. The speaker before us has actually mentioned that this country is so rich. It's so rich with its minerals that we can all live in peace and harmony. Now, this is the principles of the indigenous people, of our cultural people, the Khoi and San. We don't mind that we can share the wealth, but unfortunately, we're sitting now, or we are facing systematic oppression by this regime. Now, the systematic oppression that we are currently facing with this regime is that we cannot understand that you have a coat of arms. that's talking our language, in our indigenous language. It says, Iki kare kare ka, unity in diversity. That's what it says. Unity in diversity. But you cannot, but you find out our language, our Khoisan language, the Kukukuap language, are not even recognized as an official language in this country. The last type of language that was accepted, I think, as a 12th language was a language for people with disability that cannot hear or see. And yet we have the oldest language. The colonialists came here and they heard our people talking the tis and the tas, and what frustrated them is that they could not understand what are we talking. Now you heard the myth of our people in Cape Town whose front teeth were extracted, which don't have front teeth currently. And we ask our question, why is the front teeth extracted? This is because of they've used our people as slaves in their kitchens. And when our people spoke the language, what they did, they took pliers and they pulled our people's teeth out violently for them not to speak the language. So yeah, it's currently we're facing systematic oppression, and the very same colonialists with apartheid regime has take our identity away from us. Then they labeled us as so-called coloreds. Now the word colored is very derogatory. The word colored is derogatory in the sense that if you go to any other country like Britain and you call a person a colored, it's a derogatory term. So it's unacceptable for us to still be still categorized and classified under that derogatory term colored. The United Nations, with 144 countries, including former President Zuma and Mandela, has said in the United Declaration, and what they've done, there's a United Declaration for Indigenous People which they signed. They agreed that with regards to the indigenous people, the Khoi and San, these people must be treated fairly and equally. They've not implemented it. They've not rolled out it. Instead, what they've done, they took some of our leaders, so-called Khoisan leaders, and they drafted a document called the Traditional Leadership Khoisan Act. Now, unfortunately, it is what it is. You will have always people, you will always find people that will be easily manipulated by just looking, by just being offered monetary. This is what's happening with our leaders, our Khoi and San leaders. They are being offered monetary compensation to sell our people out. Coming back